What up, what up, what up, everybody? Live Reality Games Podcast. I'm Daniel Ball. He's Steven Stewart. And tonight we are recapping Survivor 48. It was episode 8, and it was quite the episode. There's a lot of pairs. There's a lot of talk of masculinity and muscles and strength, and there was a lot of tacos. The big thing is that another person is eliminated, and I don't really know if it was a surprise to anybody, but maybe it seemed like it was a surprise the way that it all unfolded. But looking at the episode now as a whole, Steven, are you surprised by anything? Is it kind of what you expected going in, that Chrissy was going to be on the outs, and if she went, it was likely, but if she didn't, it's probably likely here soon that she would be going?
I was surprised that Chrissy went out before Mitch.
Yeah.
Right. Given that Mitch was this potential target last episode and Chrissy was kind of let off scot-free, I really thought they'd kind of finish the job and take out Mitch. But granted, I don't know how much Chrissy's outburst, the previous tribal council, really elevated her on the boot order.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh no, guys, it's all good fun. I'm just throwing things at the wall. Don't need to worry about me. I just play hard at tribal council." It's like, "No, I mean it." And you're like, and everyone kind of realizes that too. I don't know how much that factored in, but surprised Chrissy went out. I'm especially surprised given that the episode, the back half, is just deliberation, and the deliberation really seems to kind of be leaning towards no, it's Camila, but we don't get to see how that gets decided until the vote.
Let me ask you this. When you're playing a game, do you think what people say at Tribal, does it hold a lot of weight, like when that person goes back to camp? Or do you think it's just Tribal is what it is, and things have to be said or things will be said, and you may disagree with them, you may not like them, but at the end of the day, that's part of what Tribal Council is answering questions in a truthful way to kind of better your position and better your game?
So generally I take what's said at Tribal Council with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
All right. So stuff comes out, but other times, generally people are just saying things, and people are trying to do the game where you signal to the minority that you're with them, but really still signaling to the majority you're with them. You're trying to play that middle ground. But really what Chrissy was saying was kind of different from that normal stuff. Chrissy felt very heartfelt, saying we need to target the big guys. Not today, I'm with you, but we need to target the big guys. It was just oh man.
Yeah, it's funny to me how, to me, she should be the one that's kind of just melting in and kind of just being lost in the shuffle and not saying a whole lot, because I think she could get a long way if she would just not talk, if that makes sense. But it is what it is. I mean, we start the episode and Chrissy's back there talking, hey, we need to break up the stronger groups. She went into Tribal Council, the last Tribal Council, saying that. Now she's back saying that. So I don't understand, at some point, how many she might as well write target on her back and just go, hey, I'm making it easy for y'all, because those guys are definitely a strong group and they've been running the game. And so for you to, it's one thing to go behind and talk to people and make that a move, but it's another to outwardly just vocalize it to everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the tragedy of the last round, where it's her, Mitch, and Say. Mitch with a block of vote should have been the perfect time to take Joe out or try to take a stab at flushing Eva's idol. But Say being Say and saying I'm not working with Mitch, and Mitch feeling really forced to take out Say, you're kind of well, shoot.
Right. Mitch is finally happy because he said he just wanted to make the jury, and now he sees that he's made the jury. But he also is saying he's playing a scared game. And, I can resonate with that, because you get into this pattern of like playing the game and like there's 5 or 4 really strong guys and they're kind of the alphas. It's really easy for a guy like Mitch to kind of fade off in the background and be that timid guy. But he's right. Like he has to step up and start playing the game or he is going to be next. Um, Shaheen, on the other hand, like I think he's pretty confident. Like he sees his name, but thinks he has a read on the others. You know, David is trying to push Mary and being in with Mary. Shaheen doesn't trust Mary yet. Um, but you know, in the end, Shaheen, like at the beginning of this episode, thinks he is in a pretty good spot. Um, you know, they start talking about what's the biggest animal they could take with their bare hands. I found this kind of comical. Like it's um it's that humanistic side of the game that you get. Like there's a lot of
We were
downtime.
really bored on a desert island.
Yes, there's a lot of time. So despite what you might think they're talking about, there are times where they talk about dumb stuff, and this is one of them. Um, you know, Mary is, are you rooting for the bros and Eva? And so I I don't mind the bros. I really don't. I think Shaheen is that guy that's kind of on the outside looking in. Um, you know, David is one that I don't mind David too much. I think he's
Mhm.
starting to separate himself, but I think he's just playing the game the way that you should be playing the game because he's right. You can't or Stephen, I don't think that you can expect like this strong, you know, the strong guys alliance to hold its way all the way through without somebody trying to do something, right? Like eventually you got to think, well, they're going to try to
So
win this game.
so this just gets kind of that point, like Christy and David have this conflict at the end, where I feel like they're both trying to say the same thing but in different terms, right? Because David doesn't have the Survivor background. Christy clearly is a big fan.
Right.
I think David's saying, "Look, I'm trying to find my way to the end. And I'm doing it with other big dudes because this way we're not going to be shields, and we're okay with this. We're okay with the fact that we're going to be these physical threats together, and we'll deal with that, right?" And Chrissy's like, "I feel threatened by that because you have a bigger alliance than I do, and I feel if I don't break that up, I'm going home," which she is,
Yeah.
right? But like I think both are very valid, and David came out on top in this where he has successful alliance. Chrissy unfortunately did not, but I think that their terminology just made it so they were kind of bouncing off each other, not kind of understanding one another.
Yeah. And the thing is I think the way she's wording it, it makes David feel like he is in the group that she's talking about, which he is, but she's really talking about, hey, like somebody, one of you guys needs to come and let's do something.
Mm-hmm.
But she never like worded it that way. So immediately he's like, look, let's just hold off a second. But Tree Mail comes and they have
One
to
more
decide.
question from Mary.
All right,
Is
Mary.
David a better Jonathan Young or Ken McNichol? Definitely better than Ken. He has yet to like put a person in. He has yet to test a player's honor in a very weird fashion. But I have fond memories of Jonathan Young, so I don't know if he's better than Jonathan yet. What do you think?
I don't know yet. I think, like you said, better than Ken. Yes, Jonathan, he's close. Here's where I'll give the edge to David. Is who who is he aligned with right now? I mean that gives you points when you align yourself with someone like Mary. I mean, as
It's,
the newly elected president of the Mary fan club, hey, he's in a good spot. I do think he needs to do. I think he's got to make a move, and you know, I think honestly, I think him or Joe or Shaheen or Kyle or even Eva, eventually one of them is going to have to do something because like what
you
right
can't.
now
It's the game
is
doesn't end at final five.
right, but what right now has any of those 5 done outside of maybe Eva that is really like I could win the game because I did this.
Well, I think the move to make is someone's going to take out Shaheen, right?
Yeah.
Shaheen's just, I think, being built up as this juicy target someone is going to be able to claim, right? And so whoever spearheads that, and that'll be a move I think will be sanctioned by other players too. I think the Lions will not be mad if Shaheen gets gunned down. right? And say, all right, well, Shaheen's out, bringing Mary, or Shaheen's out, bringing Camila back. So, like, I think Shaheen might be kicked out, but bringing someone else. And I think that will be a move someone's going to be able to claim.
Yeah. And I think David needs to be the guy that does that because he's got the person to bring in with him.
I mean, maybe this is the world we're living, where Mary will be the one that orchestrates it. She brings in David as their ride or die, and like Mary and David are singing the very end, and Mary wins. But I don't know.
Hey, when it happens, we'll all celebrate. I mean, it'll be a great day. Memberships will be high, and we'll be rocking and rolling.
Our Mary here is a doubter of Survivor 48, Mary, but that's okay. You'll come around.
Oh, come on, Mary. You got to if you share the name, you've got to be on the same side. I get it. There's people out there that aren't sold on Mary, and I wasn't for a while, but when you say the turtle line, like you get my attention, and then you start putting yourself in better positions with guys like David. Like now I'm bought in, so I'm all on the Mary train. So we'll see what happens. Tree Mail asked the tribe to split up into twos, into pairs, and okay, Steven, obviously when you get a tree mail that says something like this, you have a couple options that you can go with. You can do a random pick of however form or fashion that you design it, or you can just pick who you want.
I picked the biggest person there. Like, who is the biggest challenge that carry me to the last round, please?
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, as much as they probably didn't want to speak and say, I want to pick the person that I want, I think most of them were thinking that, except for one. But Joe brings up a good point. You're playing for $1 million. I don't want this potential $1 million opportunity to be something that's chance. I want to eliminate as much of the chance out of the game as possible. And like, I agree with what they did here. And I think it's very telling, and Joe talks about it, watching who aligns with who gives you a lot of really good information on possibly who's working with who. And I think Kyle and Camilla were very smart about how they made this move. And I don't know if they necessarily did it on purpose, because Shaheen immediately scoops up Camilla. And
which like, I view these as opportunities to work with someone new. Right? Who have I not worked with or connected with? Let me kind of branch out, take advantage of like who have I mean to talk to. So like, I actually like Shaheen doing it. It was just, the problem is everyone's like, we must stay within the 5. We cannot fraternize with the enemy. And like, Camila's the enemy. Look at her. And so,
yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. Well, let's put you in the situation. Let's say you have, the same situation. There are many options that you could choose from. Are you going to choose your closest ally, or are you going to go, like you said, and pick the strongest person that you feel can help carry you to the end?
At this moment, I'm selfish. I'm like, who is going to get me to the last round? Like, so you don't know at this point that there's a reward component to it, but like, if you want individual immunity, I'd rather be able to duke it out against 4 people. And I think, and especially because they've done this once before, I think, where like the losers get disadvantaged, right? So that's not a staple yet. But
well, the way that it shakes out, Shaheen picks Camilla, David picks Mary, Joe picks Eva, Mitch picks Star, Kyle picks Camilla. When you look at these, nothing, outside of Shaheen picking Camilla, the others don't really surprise me, because we had a feeling David was going to pick Mary. We knew Joe was going to pick Eva. Kyle kind of has to pick
Chrissy,
based on, well, I want to be strategic about this. I'm not just going to pick Camilla. Plus, she's already been picked. So how can I make this work in my favor? So he picks Chrissy, and then by default, that leaves Mitch and Star, which I think Star don't care. She'll just she wanted whoever was going to pick her, and she'll be last. She didn't mind that.
Did we hear anything from Star this episode? Besides, like when she's just sitting there, is like, I have no vote. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think during the pick, she was like, I'm not gonna pick. I'm gonna wait for somebody just to pick me. If I'm last, then I'm last, and that's fine. But yeah, we those were the two times that we heard her speak, and I think that's wise. It's maybe because she probably did speak more, but in this episode, she was very like, um, irrelevant because she didn't have a vote, and then she gets set up with Mitch, and no offense to Mitch, but I mean he's not the greatest at this. Um,
Well,
Harry,
Mitch has done solid in the tribal challenge portion of the game, right?
okay,
Mitch, I think we can give a lot of favor to in the pre-merge.
you're right. I'm selling him short on that. He has done a pretty good job. Mary's saying Purple Star had become furniture. Yeah, she just said, you know what? I'm just gonna hang out and mold myself into this chair, this hammock, or whatever. But I don't blame her. Like, what more can you do? And I feel like in that situation, if you don't have a vote and you're not currently kind of the vote, then why would you insert yourself to make people think, well, she doesn't have a vote. This would be an easy time just to.
But I think you still want to be part of the conversation, right? I still think to the extent you can have influence or just kind of make sure you're abreast of what is happening, it's important.
Yeah, true. Camilla, basically says, she's playing the game well. She sees the end road. She's seeing kind of how things are playing out. But Camilla says they need to go after Joe, Eva, or Shaheen because she doesn't see herself winning against any of them. You know, Kyle then sees himself kind of in the middle as this swing that can go one way or the other. And I think he's seeing himself that way because nobody knows that he's aligned with Camilla. And I do think he's probably, I don't know, in that 5-person strong guy alliance, like, is he fourth? Is he third? Like where is he ranked? I mean, Shaheen's clearly at the bottom because they've all talked about being okay getting rid of him. They didn't want to, but they would. You see that as the episode goes on, but like, where is Kyle? Like, where does he rank in this?
I mean, I go Joe, Eva, David, Kyle, Shaheen.
Yeah, so that's one thing that I think Kyle needs to think about is, okay, if we get Shaheen out, cool, but then that means I'm the next bottom. Like,
Well, except this is Modern Survivor. There's no vote at Final Four. Like as long as you're okay with making fire, that's fine. I mean, which is likely at that point you will make fire because are you gonna beat Joe and Eva? It might be tough, or Joe, Eva, David might be tough. But I think if you're Kyle, you would love to get out Shaheen and say, "Boy, we have room for one more. What about Camilla?" And the problem is like you have David really pulling for Mary instead. But I don't know.
I get it. So we go to immunity and reward. It's a multi-stage race where teams are eliminated at each stage. Stage 1 is you race through a sand tunnel, dig up a puzzle step. The last 2 pairs that finish or that don't finish are out. The next phase, you build the puzzles, ascend the stair. You take the puzzle steps, build the staircase, ascend the staircase, and then do a plank rope bridge crawl over. Um, you know, first 2 teams to get through that move on, and then it is the what do they call this last piece?
The clutch the pole for dear life while you're 10
Yeah.
feet in the air so you don't break your leg. Yeah, that thing.
The super toe grip challenge, the super toe challenge. I don't know something, but obviously they're holding on to a pole. It's got notches in it, and there's a little bit of grip. But
it's get a grip.
Get a grip. There we go. Hang on as long as possible. Eva, Joe, Mary, David, Kyle, and Chrissy were the first to move on. And then David and Mary, Joe and Eva move on to that final 4. Joe gets out pretty quickly, then David, and then Mary hung on as long as she could. Man, I was preparing my statement for that immunity win for Mary. Didn't quite work out, but that's okay.
Daniel, real fast.
Yep.
I'm having an issue. I'm going to drop the StreamYard and be back in a minute.
Okay. No worries. I will continue to fill the time. So, obviously looking at the challenge as a whole, there's a lot that could be said for it being a challenge that favors strong guys. Um, but there is some finesse, there is some balance, there is like some endurance aspect to it. But I do think that this challenge in all phases favors the strong, and the strong being Eva, Joe, David, Kyle, Shaheen. Um, it stinks that Eva won over my girl Mary, but Mary put up a good fight. Eva, on the other hand, was just dominant. She held on, and I think her hockey background allowed her to really do well in this. Stephen, I was just talking basically about this challenge was one that, when you look at all the phases, it's going to favor strength more than anything. There is some balance component to it, but it's a lot of strength.
We're talking about the poll?
Just each phase in general.
The phases. The first part, kind of strength. Second part, it's a puzzle with a lot of sprinting, so endurance. And the last part favors a woman 5'2" or less.
True, but that hockey background that Eva talks about, I think that was the difference maker here, because I ain't seen Mary with no stick and glove. I know that. So,
Mary could surprise you. You never know.
I think she's on the come up. That's going to give her some confidence that she can go, you know what? I can compete with these guys. I think I'm going to call it. She's winning immunity. She's going to win immunity this week.
You know how well our prediction lasted last season of Sue being the secret challenge beast? that prediction aged horribly.
But I mean, she had that idol. That's all that mattered.
Who needs challenges when you have the idol?
Right, exactly. Kyle back at camp starts his move to pitch Shaheen. Chrissy says Joe, but both agree that they have to break up that group. You're seeing Kyle do these Shaheen things about talking about making these moves behind people's backs. And one of the things Kyle had mentioned about Shaheen was he didn't trust him for that reason. So now you get Kyle having to play the same type of game. And I don't know if it's just to kind of put Chrissy at ease because he knows like she's going to be part of the conversation, or if there was really momentum. It seemed like there was momentum to break that group up and Shaheen being the one. The one thing that I would say with Chrissy is then, okay, take what you can get. If Kyle comes to you, Steven, and you've been pitching break up the strong guys, and Kyle goes, let's do Shaheen, and you go, no. We need to do Joe. Why not just go, okay, I'll take what I can get right now.
Yeah.
Shaheen it is.
Well, it's always a delicate balance, I think, with allies or potential allies in terms of what names you push, what names do not. Are you watching Survivor Pennsylvania by any chance?
Yes.
So did you watch the most recent episode?
I'm the newest episode I haven't watched fully yet, so I'm close.
So without spoilers, there's a moment, two allies, one player, this is Jordan. Jordan will float a name, and J-Mac, Jordan M, it kind of shoots it down. And Jordan's just like, what the heck? Jordan's like, it kind of feels like, wow, I feel really like miffed. It feels very miffed and discredited at this moment, right? And so it's hard, when you have these names, like how much flexibility should you have versus how much should you stand for? It's like, if you are too flexible, are you not getting your way versus you're inflexible? People are gonna be like, what the heck? I don't want to work with you. I never get my way.
Yeah, it's definitely a delicate balance. And I think the trick is when you come across that balance, when do you push for what you want And when do you give to what the other person wants?
Well, like we saw Genevieve last season, right? Genevieve pushes hard, takes out, can't remember who, takes out the person she wants to take out, like that second or third merge though, and then she's on the run for the rest of the season, right? She showed her cards too early, perhaps.
Was
She
it
sold her
Sierra?
high.
Was that who it was?
Mm,
Sam Sierra duo.
no. Oh, I need to go this. I need to go back to the Survivor Wikipedia.
Well,
Um,
one
no.
thing we forgot to mention is that those that didn't make
Soul.
it through
It was Soul.
Soul. There it is. Yeah.
So she pushes for Soul, takes Soul out. Then everyone's like, "That's Genevieve's move."
Yeah.
Um,
We forgot to mention that, those that didn't make it past the first phase of the challenge got to go on a journey. And they got to basically play what I'm coining the 3 red balls in the shoot game.
I love this. This game made me so happy inside. Like this is a game I was like, man, I would love to play because it's this interesting strategic game of the choices you make, and that's going to change the choices for everyone else, and there's that iterative aspect where it's not simply the first red ball. It's like I need to get multiple red balls. So, all right, so how do you play around that? I don't know. I loved it.
Yeah, so there's a game. I don't know if you've ever played Mario Party.
I have played Mario Parties in the past, but I don't play very much. So, which mini game are we talking about?
So there's a mini game, and it's a rotation of oranges, apples, and beehives, and they go in a circle. And you can pick one, you can pick two, but you get the rotation. So you don't want to get the beehive. So, and you have the people behind you that can pick what they pick. And so it's like this. Sometimes you don't have a choice, but you get beehive because that's the only choice that you have to make.
Sorry, Daniel, are you saying Survivor is simply a more elaborate game of Mario Party?
Exactly. 100%. And it's a game that this was a game where I thoroughly enjoyed because my 7-year-old daughter could play this game and do well at it because the Mario Party version of this game, she'll kick my ass in it. Like she just and it's like I tried to figure it out, and I have this idea in my head, but I always lose every single time. So I think I would be much like Star. I feel like in this scenario, I would just get screwed every time, and I would have no choice but to I get stuck with red balls.
Well, it definitely makes a difference that you have Camila and Mitch collaborating secretly enough to ensure this is what happens. And you get Star saying, and look, here comes Camila setting up to lose again. And Camila's just like, sorry, I want this over with. Woo!
Do you think Star is aware that they were kind of working together against her?
I think Star gets a sense that she's being set up, right?
Yeah.
At least there's there's probably a moment where we don't see where Star and Camila have to. Camila's like, hey, I'm sorry I did that to you. Didn't want to be me. I wanted to be over with, and so you were just the easiest option. Star's probably like, okay,
okay, I get it. And in that situation, so Star loses her vote. Then we fast forward to the reward. Let me ask you a question. You watch them at the reward at the taco?
I mean, I look at the Survivor food and I'm just like, boy, I wish I too was eating that.
Yeah. Has Eva ever eaten before?
But she knows what a chip is, and she knows what isn't a chip. So we know she at least has consumed taco chips in her life.
Right, but it was all over her face. I get it. You're hungry, but have some manners. I mean, jeez.
I think maybe at this point you're so desensitized to the fact you're going to be on national television, you just don't care.
You don't care. And I get it. And I mean, you're probably so that brings up a good question. At how many days into the game do you just stop caring about appearance and look and how you
4
come
days.
off? 4 days? Yeah.
4 days. I think that's we're halfway through a week. I mean, Yeah, I'm thinking about playing real foot. Like day 4, I'm like, whatever. I'm tired. I'm hungry, and I'm angry at everyone.
I think it's as soon as you start smelling yourself, I think at that point you're like, okay, I'm done.
Well,
Let's
okay, so unlike us players, like they actually have access to an ocean to get to like wash in.
true, very true. I don't think there was any oceans on Real Foot, was there?
There was a small pond, teeny tiny pond, but after players tried to drown themselves in there, we weren't allowed in.
Oh man, that's sad. You know, Daryl, manners out the window. I get it, man. I get it. You know, he does say David can have milk all over his face. He ain't complaining. David could probably bathe in milk, and there's some ladies out there that would love that. But you're right. I don't need to get hung up on the manners so much because you know the big thing is Kyle thinks it's crazy, but you know, I'm sorry, you know, Eva finds her advantage rolled up in her tortilla chip, and obviously there's a lot of people chirping. You know me, I don't get too much in depth on the interwebs about
But
what,
you heard the chirping.
but I heard the chirping about the names and how they were assigned to certain stations and the chip
There's like
bowls.
one quick scene where you see there's like they have like labels of where to sit, and I was like, well, that's strange. I was like,
Yeah,
why would they care about where you sit?
but the way that it was worded, it said, because congratulations on doing well in the challenge. So, I mean, was this like a chip bowl that was family style that was passed and she
No,
just
it was a pretty small chip ball. Let's be honest.
I mean, I'm just trying I'm trying to not give in to the fact that this was generated for Eva. Like I don't want to believe that. Um, you
I mean,
know,
it was generated for the winner who happened to be Eva. If that makes you feel better.
okay, there we go. And maybe that was it. Maybe they staged the entire meal and they put the thing and they said, well, whoever wins, this is where they sit. And that's where the advantage is going to go. And she won. Daryl says it was an advantage that was made easy for the winner of the challenge to find. Yes.
I mean, you always have the fun question of how many advantages are put in the game that are never found. Right? It's like like in Jonathan's season Survivor, there was an advantage hidden in a fish they received, and he didn't even see the advantage. He gutted it and threw the advantage away with it.
And then some people like Boston Rob find it and they just throw it over the side of a volcano. They say, I don't need this. I'll say this. I agree with Daryl. Like it is the easiest because let's be real. Anybody that's ever went to a Mexican restaurant, the first thing that they bring you is a bowl of what, Steven?
Okay, to be fair, at the Survivor Mexican restaurant, all the food was there with the chips, right? You're not sitting there bored for 25 minutes eating your weight in chips and salsa before your main course arrives.
I'm just saying, like, I'm going to have a couple bowls of chips. Not that I need them or not that I want them, just because, like, they're easy just to pick up. Like,
yeah, I agree that is the quintessential experience.
So, yeah, it was an easy one. She gets a reward. Obviously, it basically says you got to leave camp in the middle of the night and find the flame, whatever that means.
If this was like with Jeremy Collins in Second Chance, it was surprisingly easy to do.
Yeah, I think. Do you think that the hard part is sneaking out of camp? Or do you think the hard part's going to be actually what she has to do to earn this?
Well, I'll be curious if there's an additional step. If it's just like sneak out of camp, yeah, I mean, she'll figure it out. But if it's like something in addition to that, that would be interesting to me.
Right. David asks, during the reward, how much they trust Shaheen. Joe says, 1,000%. He's my guy. David says, that he works with Camilla and may have an idol. So how about Camilla being the vote? So here's where we start seeing that Camilla's name starts getting floated. We go back to camp. Eva opens up about the advantage talks about what she has to do. Joe tells Kyle and Camilla that the plan was created by David and Mary for to vote out Camilla. And Kyle obviously, what you would expect. He's like, that's crazy, out of left field, doesn't want to give up the fact that them two are working together. He then tells Joe that Chrissy wants him out. So Joe is now starting to ponder, all right, well, I don't ever want it to be me, so I want to take out the person who's saying my name. So Joe is now thinking Chrissy. David then tells Kyle it's Camilla. Kyle goes and tells Camilla, and they think it's Mary. How does this become Mary's agenda? Like, I don't understand, like, how David can tell you one thing to your face, and then you go, "Oh, this is not David, it's Mary."
That's just good. That's just David's brilliant gameplay.
I mean, maybe he's setting old Mary up, but what he doesn't realize is Mary sees it all. She sees all the angles. Don't worry about that. Joe is unaware of the Camilla push, but will vote for her. David is wondering why Kyle is trying so hard to save Camilla. And that kind of ends the prior to the whole talk about who to vote prior to going to tribal. If you're in this situation, and let's say you are Kyle, like, how do you not give up the fact that you're working with her to try to save her?
So here's the. We don't know ultimately why they landed on Christy over Camilla. And I think one of the biggest problems I saw with Kyle was defending Camilla and not attacking Christy. I think you just said, look, Christy's an instigator. Christy's trying to draw numbers. Christy's going to continue to be a problem for us and throw our names out. Camilla, however, is going to go with the flow, and therefore we can clip her when we need to. But Christy is going to need to go out now, and she's pushing for you at the moment. Right? I would have been more. I think a more proactive approach versus I understand this makes no sense. I think Kyle. I felt again. I don't know how they end up falling for Christy. What happened behind the scenes, because it felt like you had Eva, you had David, you had Mary all saying, Camilla, and kind of echoing Daryl here. We know that Camilla is a smarter move because she's a better player. I don't think the players in the game know that, but I think it's something else you can say. Look, we don't know what she's doing. We don't know who her allies are. She's a bigger unknown. All right. And if you're going to push for her and say that's why she needs to go.
Yeah. And, Daryl is bringing up some good points. I mean, he's talking about everybody comes to Joe like he's the godfather.
He's just missing a Boston Red Sox hat, right? Is that all he's missing at this point?
And so, when they chose Chrissy, it was because Joe wanted Chrissy. And, Joe, like Daryl's mentioning, Joe has social capital. And I don't know how he's gained that other than being
dad-like. Steely look in his eye, right? That really draws people in.
But adding more to what Daryl's saying, the players don't know that Camilla is a bigger threat. And yes, I agree with what you're saying, Daryl. She is a better player, but it's hard when you're in the moment to see who is the biggest threat if you're not real sure how they're playing the game. And Camilla's one that I don't think people know exactly where she lies, and I think she is an easy vote. But also, is she very threatening? And now they're starting to see maybe she is got something going, or at least David's starting to see it.
And look, I think there's something to say where what Chris is about. You know what game she's playing. You know who she's working with. You know exactly her agenda. Camilla, I mean, I love this player. Give me my under the radar female players who come late game for the win. That's my jam. Camilla is you don't know who she's working with, right? Is she working with Kyle? Is she working with Shaheen? Who are her alliances? She's going with the flow, but when's she gonna pop up the take that swing? You don't know. I honestly I think David gets a lot of flack, and David kind of comes from this place where he doesn't know, but I feel like he has surprisingly good reads of like what he should be doing.
I I couldn't agree more. I think he does. There's things that he says, and he finally gets to the point, and you heard him. Why is Kyle trying to save Camilla so bad? And maybe like when you're out there in it, it's kind of like there's so much going on, you don't really notice it. But the way they edit it, it like makes it obvious to the viewer, like, yeah, they have something going on. Um, and so I think him being able to notice that's very, very, telling. Like he is playing the game at a different level. Um, but it does look to me like as a viewer that it's definitely obvious that they're working together. Um, we
I mean,
talked about this, Steven. Now, when we opened the show, we talked about the easy vote.
mhm.
Do you think Chrissy was ever not the vote and they edited it in a way to make it look more compelling? Because like you got to have an episode, right? And so
Well,
if the easy vote
it
and it
was
never steers from Chrissy, like you got to do something to make it look different or
I
spice it
was
up.
laughing. I was watching the episode because you get zero strategic content from really Chrissy, Mitch, Star, the whole minority. You get no strategic content from. You don't know what they're doing because it doesn't matter.
Nope.
So like yeah, I don't know how much it was always Chrissy or this was just like the initial scramble and they landed on Chrissy and that was that. Um, I don't know.
Yeah, obviously we go to tribal and, Chrissy is beginning to talk, more. Um it was always going to be Chrissy. I kind of now tend to agree with that. I think they had to spice it up so like Camilla, Kyle, that whole scenario is very, engaging
But
and
okay, so for Camille and Kyle, right? They're
yeah.
gonna flip at some point, right? This is gonna happen.
Well, I think we're gonna have to see. Yeah, it's gonna like it's
Yeah. So
inevitable to
if
happen.
it's Neville, they're gonna happen. They will need numbers for. I mean, we're going down the 9, right?
Mhm.
And so, who are they flipping with at this point? Mitch. Who
Yeah.
else? I mean, it's not Mary. Mary's with David. Star. Is she
It's
gonna flip, or she's too close to Eva?
so really it's Shaheen, Mitch, and Star are the three that are the outliers. Like if you look at how they paired themselves
Yeah.
up, Shaheen paired up with Camilla just by chance or luck or whatever. There was no like clear like they're not working together. Mitch, he doesn't know where he's at in this game. He just knows that he's playing a timid game and needs to play stronger. And then Star is just like, well, I don't have a vote. What do I do? I'm just going to hang out. So to me, those are the three that if Kyle and Camilla or David and Mary wanted to flip this game upside down, like they've got to get them three on board.
Yeah, because I think the problem is you're putting Shaheen as one of the flippers. I still think he's going to flipped on.
True. Well, then it leaves you Eva,
So
Mary, like Eva, Joe, David, Mary to flip some way, and
but like again, that's not. I don't think that's the best flip for. I mean, I think what we're seeing is Kyle and Camila need to take out one of Joe, David, or Eva. That's like the three that they would need to flip on. Shaheen, it's a consolation prize. I don't think it's going to help them as much as one of those three.
True. Obviously, the vote is the vote. It's hands down, Chrissy. And do you think next episode we're gonna get the whole why?
Yeah, I think they'll start and it'll be like the confessionals that night. Like, here's why we did it. Kind of like revealing how things went down, and yeah, they'll explain it. Much
Yeah,
like how why did Say vote Cedric? Well, she's like for revenge, basically.
for revenge. Why not? Um, what would you? Strange episode. A lot of things moving and shaking. I do think a lot of information was given. Like we can start putting some pretty finite pieces together
Mhm.
of the puzzle of who's working with who and the major alliances and the minor alliances and how things could potentially play out. But what would you grade the episode? A, B, C, C minus? Like
I mean, in terms of, I thought the strategy was fascinating in terms of how do you manage an alliance to come to agreement. But we don't get to see a conclusion of that. The minority doesn't really matter, so I think strategically, I mean, the challenge I enjoyed enough. The highlight was really that, strangely, the lose a vote challenge was the highlight. But part of me is still mad that you need to feel the need to make someone lose a vote because you can't let the game be stable.
yeah, like in this particular scenario, it wouldn't have mattered if Star lost a vote or not.
Didn't matter at all. I mean, as much as they try to make it sound like we need her to lose her votes, we can make something happen, then nothing happens. Right? Probably because the vote's being pushed on Camila and like Kyle panics and they're just like, all right, damage control, we're not doing anything special here.
Yeah. I'm maybe it's me, but I feel kind of like they threw this in there because they knew that the vote was going to be straightforward. And so they were like, well, let's just lose a vote here because it's not going to matter either way. Because
I like to think they don't do things.
I don't
like that.
Yeah,
it's all part of a master plan.
I hope so. That's see what happens when I read the intrawebs after the fact. Like then I got to stop doing that because then I start believing all this conspiracy stuff about the game and creating it. And
hey man, I have a friend who hasn't watched Survivor since like mid-30s. So he thinks the whole thing is rigged. I'm like, I don't think it's that rigged.
I mean, Mary said she's tired of all the twists and gimmicks.
Which, Daniel, you voted for the last Survivor 50 poll, right?
Yes.
Did you vote, I want to make it as twisty as possible. Twist it up more, please. Is that how you voted?
No, I think you saw the results of the vote. I was pretty much straightforward. Let's have a regular game.
The live reality game poll, about 25 people voted. 24 said keep it straight, and then one person said like twist it. So, I mean, I don't think you. I like occasional things. I dislike the fact that there's like we can't let there be a straight normal vote.
So this is where I get kind of in the weeds of things. Like I could see having a game with twists and stuff if you were bringing in the best of the best Survivor players. But to me, like I've never heard anybody say like this season 50 is the best of the best players. They may be the most entertaining players. They may be really good players. They may be winners. They may be second chancers. They may be just challenge but if you're bringing in the best players, then sure, do some twists, make them have to work in a different way. But if you're just bringing in whoever you feel like is going to be entertainment value, then just give me a straightforward game. They'll provide the entertainment as we go.
I mean, I think kind of you said it's the fear that the players will not be enough. That the players, the characters, the antics, the strategy is just not sufficient, and therefore we must have game stuff to fill it, right? And that's kind of like with it being 90-minute episodes, like we need to fill the time, do things, fill the time.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, a couple more questions or a couple more comments. Daryl talking about in the first episode, David talks about being a hero or a villain. Maybe that's some foreshadowing. He does go on to say Eva is his winner pick. Not a bad one. Bring coach for entertainment. He's talking about, fan favorites for
season 50, whatever that may be. In the hands of the fans.
In the hands of the fans, except for the players that are on the show.
Who are subject to the whims of whatever season we decide. Part of me hopes it's become strictly old school, right? 2 tribes, minimal twists, only idols, like old school, mid-20s at this point.
Right.
Which is half a generation.
What do you think we see next episode?
Either Mitch goes out or Kyle and Camila take a stab.
I would like to see something give me something spicy. I mean, do you not agree? I feel like there's a lot of foreshadowing and building to something spicy happening, and if we don't get this payout, I'm gonna be upset.
I think this season can easily become a Pagange, which is not necessarily a bad thing because
Yeah.
I still think there's
No.
interesting dynamics. I think the problem is the dynamic of the majority alliance. We kind of have a good sense of it, right? On who's in the
Right.
in, and who's in the out. So we'll see. I mean, I'm curious to see what Eva gets. Do you think it's an idol or do you think it's less than an idol?
It, I hope it's not an idol, but I feel like it is. Maybe an advantage, like in the challenge. Like
Just
I don't know,
string
but they've
challenge
already.
advantages. I hope it's like
Yeah,
something minor vote related, block, steal, extra, something like that. Um, I don't know, Eva with two idols would be a lot. I might that and like
yeah.
especially with one secret.
But we already know what she like. Does she give it to Star, who gave her an
No.
idol? Does she give it to Joe? Does she keep it? Like, does she really truly hold on to this secret if she's able to get over there? Like, I mean, that is the challenge, and that's maybe what we're looking at. So, I agree. I think Mitch is hung in there really tough, but I think his time is coming, and I think it's going to be this week. Mitch is going home. Mary is not sugarcoating. Mitch is going home. So with that, Survivor pool. We've done this a few weeks now. We've been pretty good. I'm sticking to
So who'd you pick this past week?
I picked Mary, and
Okay.
we were good. So we've got to. Here's who's out of.
Here's
out of
Daryl
the
saying Mary's going next episode, but
Daryl, get
heresy in
out
this
of
podcast.
my comments, Daryl. Don't make me get the fan the club on you. The club is coming. I've already picked Chrissy, Bianca, Charity, David, Mitch, Star, Mary. So those are the 6 that I picked so far. I gotta find someone that is not gonna go home obviously this week, but someone who also isn't gonna win the game. Possibly get out next week.
So I think the question for you is, when do you take Shaheen?
That's I
So
should have
this
took him last week is what should have
I
happened,
mean,
and I could have got that out of the way.
I think
But
taking Mary was good. I think it's like, is I think Shaheen's at risk, but is it happening now or is it happening the episode after?
right.
Right? Because I do think Joe, Eva, Kyle, Camille aren't going anywhere. And that leaves you Shaheen and who else to choose from?
So I have Eva available to pick, Joe, Shaheen, Camilla, Kyle. Those are my options.
Oh, so all the big ones and Shaheen.
Correct.
Oh man.
I don't know. Do you think that's good? Like, am I set up for a good position, or
So
I feel like it's tougher?
you have five. So you have 5 names you can choose from at this point.
Yep.
Okay, and so I don't see Kyle, Camila, Joe, or Eva going home next episode. So I think any of those 4, you're good. It's just like I think you'll either you never check Shaheen, and that's okay because it's just too risky, or you go now and pray.
Oh man. Jeez. Give me an alternative, like, because I am leaning towards Shaheen here, but give me an alternative, like.
I think you take Camila.
Okay. A lot to think about, a lot to process, but
I mean, it gets back to the question we asked: which duos can come out on top? Will we see Joe and Eva run the season, or Kyle and Camila come out on top? Right?
I see a scenario where Shaheen becomes a swing, where he's kind of like that guy who is in a camp, but kind of that guy that you need to pull away from a camp, and like.
I mean, he might be the swing. He might be like we hear him position himself 2 episodes ago, saying, "I'm in the center. If anyone wants to do anything, they need to come to me." Right? Shaheen pitches himself like that. Now, this could be Shaheen thinking really good about himself, or this could be actually true. And we see that play out this or next episode where, like, if anything happens, it must come with him in order to break up David, Joe, Eva, and Mary, perhaps.
True. Well, the good news is we have less than 24 hours, and we'll find out. We get to find out next episode. Steven, what do we got out there? What's pressing in the LRG world and community? What we got?
I saw Survivor New York released its dates for the season. They're running a season from August 8th to August 10th. And once again, I cannot apply because I will be on vacation with family,
Nice.
which bums me out because normally their season's in September and it's during the school year. But like Survivor New York applications out, please apply. Survivor Bloomington, I think, just recently closed its applications too. Airing shows on Podcasting Survivor, Surviving Bloomington. The merge should be close. Outlast maybe at least has 2 episodes out. Survivor Cayman, I'm gonna try to watch just because it's on Cayman. Do you want me to add this to the?
Yeah, I was just pulling up just some that have posted over the past week. Survivor Colorado, July 26th, 27th. Their applications are available now. Survivor Batangas, October 11th, 12th. Survivor Brantford, they're casting. That's in August. The Amazing Race in San Diego. They are casting. Idol Identifier Studio. What is this? Ooh, I haven't
Survivor
seen this.
Wisconsin season 7.
Nice.
Survivor
Let's
New
go
York,
back.
baby.
There we go. And then Survivor New York, August 8th through the 10th. And that's what we got. That's what we got in the world of LRG.
All I want are my like week-long games. Make more week-long games for me, people. Suffer so I can play.
In a week-long game, how long do you think you should give players before they go home to make the experience?
If you start on a Saturday, make the first photo happen Sunday night or Monday morning. So kind of nothing happens that first day and a half in terms, or like maybe you end the first full day, secondly day 2 with that immunity challenge.
And now, are you filling that day and a half, almost 2 days with
Reward challenges?
Rewards? Okay.
Yeah. So reward challenges and other events that get people interacting and doing things, and you kind of allow for the social situations to kind of figure out and settle.
Gotcha. I would be down to play a week-long game. It's just, man, that's getting time off for that. That's all your PTO, bro. That's it.
Oh, Daniel, become a teacher. You get all the summer and you don't get paid at all. It's great.
Very true. Very true. Well, Steven, let's wrap this thing up. Let's get out of here. Daryl, appreciate it. Mary, appreciate the comments. You guys stick around. We'll be back next week with episode 9, Survivor 48. This has been a live Reality Games podcast. I'm DB. That's Steven. We're out.
See ya.